the deal, everybody? Thanks for tapping back into the channel. It's your boy Savvy 100. We keep things a buck, nothing more, nothing less. You already know. Today we got a great topic. We're talking about correctional officers, Cdcr correctional officers. That means COs, the correctional officers in the state of California, might actually be forced to have to start wearing body cams. This is a joyful moment for myself personally because of everything that I've went through at the hands of correctional officers. Now, before we get into this, I do want to say that not every correctional officer is a bad correctional officer, and not every correctional officer is the same as the last correctional officer. However, this is still a joyful moment because what happens very often and is very prevalent within CDCR. So I'm going to start off by sharing an experience that I went through, a story that I went through, a very traumatic event that I went through. And maybe after this story that I tell you, you'll understand why I'm so joyous about this, man, why this means a lot to me, because there's no worse feeling knowing that you could possibly be beat to death, or, you know, they could choke you and strangle you and set it up to make it look like a suicide. You know, your parents would never know. And who suffers more than you? Your family suffers more than you. If they know what you're going through, they have the unknown to think about. At least you know what time it is. You know, if these cops, you're dealing with some guys who are probably going to hurt you. You either make it, you won't, you'll die, you'll be broken, or you won't. Your family doesn't know that. They don't understand what's really going on here. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing a hat today, well, let's just say my head was light before I shaved it, and look how light it is now. But it feels good, man. It feels good to toss that hair off. So you know what? The hat can kiss my butt. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the story real quick. I've shared it on my last channel, and it's a trip because my last channel, The Savage Family, is such a big platform that everyone was actually able to validate this story. People knew the CO I was talking about. They knew his antics because he does it all the time. And then after what I experienced, I'm 100% positive I ain't the only person he's done this shit to. And then they knew other inmates. They knew the blocks and the prisons and everything like that. And they heard about the story in which I was involved. So let me go ahead and get into it. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I'm in Wasco State Prison. I'm coming back. I had paroled from Kern Valley. I went to Bakersfield County Jail to fight another case, which I had picked up while I was in Kern Valley for selling dope while I was in prison, making some money. I ended up getting 5 more years. I come back upstate. Before you can just come back to your natural or regular prison that you were in, you have to go through reception again, which is horrible. The good thing for me, being antisocial and it is what it is, I still owed an indeterminate shoe term, which meant that I'm not going to go back to a yard, which meant that I'm not going to go to a regular reception block and have to deal with all these people. Let me tell you one thing about reception inmates. Inmates in reception are very bizarre and chaotic because you have to understand the type of people you're dealing with. This is not a settled prison yard. You're going to a yard full of inmates who just came from the county jail with brand new life sentences. Some of them are doing 10, 15, 20. Some of them are doing 2, 4, 5, and they just got a bad attitude. But everybody is settled. They don't have TVs. You don't get to use the phone. So it's just a really bad place to do your time at. No one likes to be in reception. We're all trying to get the fuck out of there and hit the yard. Me especially loving where I had just came from, right? So I said, fuck it. You know what? I'm going to go to D6, which was AdSeg, the hole, in Wasco. And upon waiting for my transfer back to Corcoran to finish up an indeterminate shoe term. Not a problem. I sit back there in Wasco, and that wasn't even the case. Wasco was horrible, but this is where it all happened. So I sit back there in Wasco for a couple months. I'm sitting in D6. I'm sitting in AdSeg. I'm thinking everything's kosher. I'm waiting for my bus ride, waiting for my bus ticket, and I'm up out of here. I'm going back to Corcoran, yada, yada. Well, due to recent changes that were taking places in CDCR at the time, they didn't want a lot of people in AdSeg who didn't necessarily need to be in AdSeg, who they felt shouldn't have been there. Never mind that I had over 150 points. Never mind that I had multiple shoot terms. Never mind any of that. Yeah, it's a good idea. Why not kick them out? Why not kick them out? And to tell you what happened to me when I did get kicked out, that would be another video, right? That would be another one. We're not going to get into that. So anyways, I go to get kicked out. As I'm going, I notice all my boys in Wasco D6 AdSeg, there's no front to the cell on the bottom tiers. I don't even think on the top tiers. I think it's all honeycomb from what I can remember. So you can see somebody from top to bottom, their body behind the cell door. So there's a big pile of stand-up cages where inmates can stand up in. And it's just like a big rectangle cage where you stand up in. And there's a gang of other inmates who are getting kicked out of AdSeg with me. So some of my buddies are sign languaging me, and they're telling me, hey, look, man, that dude right there, you know, get on him. And I'm like, man, this guy? you know what I mean, I'm confirming that it's this actual guy, right? And they're like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'll figure it out, you know. They're like, well, do it. If you do it in front of AdSeg, if you do it as soon as the cuffs come off, they're going to turn you around and bring you right back to AdSeg. If you do it at the block, they'll leave you at the block. Like, if you smash them when you get to the block, you'll stay on the yard and you won't have to be in the hole. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to spin this, right? So they take us in front of AdSegs, in front of D6, and we're all in the line. And they take off all of our handcuffs, and they have us grab our big laundry bags full of blues, the blues that we wear, the pants, the scrub type of clothes, the blankets, the sheets, everything for mattress, boxers, or whatever they provide you in that laundry bag. And the guy that I'm supposed to get is probably like 3 inmates in front of me. So there's a couple inmates or so in front of me, and then he's between me. We have 2 escorting correctional officers. One's a Mexican female, Mexican older lady, real sweet lady, who was actually from Pacoima, which was a trip. And I ended up telling her, like, how could you let, you know what I mean? I don't get it. And then the other one was about 6'5", maybe an inch shorter, maybe an inch taller. Officer Campbell, steroid junkie, white Officer Campbell, just looked like a fucking action figure. You know what I mean? Just all cut up and tall and big and asshole, mean. So I'm like, hey, I'm like, where we all going? And he's like, you're going to B4, right? You're going to B4, you're going to B1, B2. And then they tell old boy that he's going to B2. And I'm like, shit. I'm not even going to be able to get this guy. He going to a whole nother block. And if I don't get him, all these guys in here are going to think that I ranked it. They're going to think that I didn't, you know, I made an excuse. Because that's what usually does happen. That's what dudes usually end up doing. So I decided while we started walking, I think we all in a line in unison took like 2 or 3 steps, and then I dropped my bag and I went over there and started smashing on them up against the gate. At this point, we are still in front of AdSeg. We're still in front of D6. So I started smashing them, but even as I'm walking past that CO, I could hear him. I could hear him already going off like, you get the, what the fuck? You know, some kind of cuss word, you know what I mean? Like, I can hear him. I can feel his rage, you know? So I start smashing dude, and then I hear a big whoosh. And I look, and he's trying to, next thing I know, he's coming for my kneecap. He's just trying to take my kneecap out, and I dodge it. And when I dodge it, I lay down. I go into like this prone position, right? And I'm like, hey, all right, I'm good. And I go into the prone position. And you could just see it in his eyes. You could hear it in his voice. He is not having that. There is no I'm good. You ain't done. We ain't done. Nothing like that. And he boots me, right? Instantly boots me because I'm already on the prone position. It's like, damn. So he boots me. And my whole body literally came off the floor. Now, keep in mind, I'm not telling you guys something of a story of how I think things felt or how I think things happen. Like, I literally had my rib physically cracked. Medical terms, my rib was cracked, right? Fractured, fucked off. And still to this day, it juts out of my stomach. Like, when I suck my stomach in, you can see it bulge out more than my right side. So he boots me, and then he keeps booting me so bad that I had to just lay in a crunched ball, making the craziest noises ever. I had lost enough breath for weeks with that first kick. The second, the third, the fourth, that's when things were getting a little out of hand. Put it this way, the dude who I victimized, so to speak, right? I caught a battery on him. They put us in the stand-up cages apart from each other, and he's like, "Hey, bro, why'd you get on me like that? Like, why'd you even? What's up? Like, what's your beef with me?" And I was like, "Come on, dog. Like, you already know. I don't even know you. Like, you know what you did." And I was like, "What are you even tripping on? Obviously, I got my ass kicked worse than you did." And he started laughing. He was like, "Nah." He's like, "Fool." He's like, "Trust me. If you need me to like say anything, you know, I saw everything, my boy." He's like, "That was foul how that fool did you." Because I told you about how he kicked me, but this officer went on to punch me while I was in handcuffs, split my head open, or split this side open against the pavement, was smashing me out. And the scariest part about all this is the moral to the story. I didn't really even feel any type of fear or anything like that until everyone was there, and it kept going, right? So nurses were there, they pulled up. Other officers were there, sergeants, captains, a lieutenant was there, and I was still getting my ass kicked. And then finally I get drugged into a stand-up cage, and the cop is literally begging me to say one word so he can open the cage. He's like foaming at the mouth. This big old roided out steroid rage motherfucker is like foaming at the mouth, swearing how he's gonna kill me if I say one thing. It got to the point to where like literally his lieutenant had to grab him and tell him, I'm trying to save you. Like, I'm trying to save your job. You need to stop. Because he was starting to snap on his lieutenant. He was starting to snap on his superiors. He literally got to a point where he was like circling my cage, just mumbling, incoherently telling me like, say one more thing, say one more. And I'm over here hunched over, right? Like my rib is freshly cracked. For months, I could not even get up to eat breakfast. I had to have my cellie pull me up off of my bunk just to eat. And so I'm sitting in the cage all hunched over, and all the superiors come around me, right? They all swarm me in a circle. And he's right there, still talking crap, right in front of all the superiors, still threatening my life, still saying he's going to attack me and hurt me and kill me and blah, 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 and this, and that. And the lieutenant looks at me and he says, now, was there a use of force? And then they all look at me like, now, was there a use of force? And so, of course, I look at him and I'm like, nah, man, wasn't no use of force, man. I'm just trying to go back to my cell, man. I'm cool on all this. He was like, okay. Now, I still did get charged with the battery. However, they ended up dropping that battery. They dropped that battery because the way I handled the whole situation. I had a clear lawsuit on this guy. But they made sure to stifle me with this. So while I'm at medical, right? Because after you have an incident, they take you towards the medical place whenever there's a use of force. So this is how many nurses saw me. They were supposed to see me. Somehow I ended up with a fabricated medical 7219 form, right? That's a medical sheet. A 7219 form completely filled out saying that there was no problems with me and I had never seen one nurse, right? I didn't even find out my rib was cracked till about 2.5 weeks later because the nurse still wouldn't even see me. And finally, when they saw me, I was able to get medical attention and get taken out and go to a certain Cdcr hospital to have it looked at, and that's where it was reported. X-rays were taken, and that's when they were able to find out that my rib was indeed fractured. So the corruption of it all is what kind of, if anything, scared me the most. It wasn't even the physical violence. The physical violence sucks, you know, especially when you have handcuffs on and the dude's punching you, but in your head you're thinking, okay, do what the fuck you got to do. I'm mad. You're mad. I stepped out of line. I got an ass whooping coming. I know I do. I thought I was probably going to get pepper sprayed, though, or maybe hit a couple times with the baton, but I didn't think this dude was going to be wailing on me, kicking me, handcuffing me, hitting me again, threatening my life, putting me in a cage, begging me to say one thing so he can pepper spray me and beat me down again. And then, so when I saw the corruption of it all, the higher-ups and the nurses who were literally turning their backs to what he was doing to me so they didn't have to see it, right? His partners who weren't telling him nothing, right? And then to top it off, they walk me back to Ad Seg later on after I'm done with medical and everything else. They walk me back, and it's raining, and I'm in boxers, and they got me cuffed up, and there are 2 COs on me. One big Samoan one, he actually wasn't even tripping on me, but there was a little short Mexican one, right? And he was just, the whole time he was in my ear, he was like, motherfucker, he's like, if you make one wrong move, he's like, I'm going to make you regret it. Oh, I'm going to make you regret it. So good. The whole walk there, right? And I'm trying to walk with a fractured rib that no one gave me ice, nothing. So I'm like, he's like dragging me. And the only thing I could think in my head is like, you fucking little short pussy. I would rip you apart, homie. I would rip you apart if you gave me the chance with this messed up rib. I would rip you apart. But I couldn't say none of that. I had to let him talk his talk. I had to let him get crazy with it, right? So they take me back to the block. And the whole thing that, the whole thing that's going through my mind throughout this whole ordeal is, where's the cameras? Where's the body cameras? You know what I'm saying? Fuck a body camera. Where's the camera? In Wasco, they have these long walks. When I say he walked me from medical to D6, it's a long stretch of sidewalk. Boom. Over 100 yards long. Just long one. No cameras. The yard, no cameras. In front of the blocks, no cameras. Inside the blocks, no cameras. I've witnessed COs there torture inmates with mental health problems bang on their doors and call them names because these inmates are mentally retarded. These inmates are smearing their own shit on their walls and talking to themselves. And these COs are literally banging on their doors, calling them names, laughing at them. The nurses are laughing with them. These are the nurses that are sitting on them to watch them, to monitor and make sure they don't commit suicide because they were on suicide watch. The nurses and the CO are laughing at these inmates. You see, I've witnessed this in plenty of other prisons. That's good that Donovan, put it on blast and they do got the body cameras. But this is an issue that absolutely needs to be universal throughout all of CDCR. There needs to be cameras everywhere. You to get too far off into the story, and I did give you guys a public service announcement that there was going to be my story and experience. So you watched it. Don't be mad that it was so long. It is what it is. I do feel very joyous. I'm very happy. I feel like there will be a lot of crooked COs exposed because what goes on in there is something that is passed down from senior COs to juniors to the guys coming right out of the academy. They come in good. They come in nice. Even the chicks come in good. They come in nice. And then the senior partners get in their head. They mix that with a couple bad experiences with a couple bad inmates because not all inmates are bad inmates. A lot of us do know how to act. A lot of us do know how to carry ourselves. However, it is a great thing. I think it's just going down in Donovan State Prison right now. But if we can get this thing to be all over California, you guys that have family members in prison can rest easy and will be able to rest and sleep a lot easier knowing that they will be watched. Because let me tell you something. That's all we needed in there was a camera. That's it. If all we had was I probably would have got out so soon if I could have had some of these guys that whooped my ass bad on camera. Look, I was leaking. In Wasco, I was leaking. I kind of didn't really get into that part, but all those hits that he was hitting me while I was in handcuffs was busting me up. My rib was righteously fractured, cracked bad. To this day, I couldn't even, my ex, she couldn't lay her head on it for too long at a time because it would start to get that old little nagging ache. I got fucked off bad right there. And that's just one time. There's been plenty of other times. I understand discipline. I understand consequences to your actions. But there is a such thing as brutality. Correctional officer brutality. So it's a good thing. I thought I'd share this info with you guys. If you got anybody who's doing time or know anybody who's doing time, maybe this is some good news that you could run by them. Odds are they already know about it. And you guys can just celebrate together. Either way, I hope you guys like this video. Much love, much respect. It's your boy. I'm out.